The following is just a quick overview of editing existing audio within Audacity so you don't have to start over and you can just work on the data that you already have or the recording you already have. So what I'm going to do is actually start recording, and all I really want to do is get the first paragraph of this website. Let's pretend like it's a script for a second. So Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II, when Masaru Ibuka founded an electronics store in a bombed out department store in Tokyo. So sometimes when you're recording, you might run into the issue where you have to stop, re-ask a question to someone you're interviewing, or you just mess up your script in general, even if you recorded a minute before that perfectly. Now you don't have to worry because within Audacity you could easily edit that audio. So let's continue with our paragraph. Among other achievements, they were responsible for building Japan's very first tape recorder. Alright, so now that we have all of that data recorded, obviously if I just want that paragraph recording, and I have myself talking all over it, and I just don't have that paragraph by itself. So you could use your selection tool right here, just as you would inside of a Word document. But what I would want to do first is locate where I want my speech or the paragraph to start. Now you can tell it kind of starts right here. So Sony got its start in 1946. So just like you would in a Word document, you could hold down your mouse and select over like so and click delete. But we're going to undo that for a second, and we're actually going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to click once. You could also do this in a text document. Hold down my shift key, select back to the start like this, and then click delete. So Sony got its start in 1946. So far, I have the start of my paragraph, great, but notice that in the middle, so sometimes when you're recording, you might run into, I interrupted my whole entire paragraph. And sometimes that might happen to you. Even if you're interviewing somebody and you have to get rid of a big chunk of stuff within there that you don't want, all you have to do is what we just did before, where I click right here, and make sure you locate where you end talking or where you want to get rid of the excess recording that you don't need. Recorded a minute before that perfectly. Now you don't have to worry because within Audacity you could easily edit that audio. So let's continue with our paragraph. So one trick to do, or not a trick really, but one thing to remember is look up at your time counter up top in terms of seconds. So if I click here, even if you recorded a minute for interviewing, or you just met. So let's go back a little more. So sometimes when you're, so around 13 seconds into the recording, I have stuff that I don't want. So I could actually go ahead and label right here interruption, so I know that's where my speech stops with that paragraph, and I could actually go ahead and go all the way out to where I go back to that paragraph. Among other achievements, so let's continue with our paragraph. Among other, so obvious right here, that's where I stop the interruption and I start again. So I'm going to click right there, go all the way back. There's my label for interruption. I'm going to hold down my shift key again, click, and all this is junk that I don't want in there. I'm going to hit delete, and now it should go seamlessly without an issue. So Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II, when Masaru Ibuka founded an electronics store in a bombed out department store in Tokyo. Among other achievements, they were responsible for building Japan's. So for the main assignment, the quick assignment here, I just want you to be able to edit the audio file with my start and my interruption in the middle, and just save it as an MP3 with this first paragraph right here, which would be included with the instructions. So it's a simple editing activity where you remove that stuff that you don't want, and you'll probably have to do the same thing with your recordings. Now to continue, let's say you don't like that paragraph the way you said that. You're welcome to actually go ahead and go to tracks and add a new mono or stereo track like this. I could even click right here and rename these. So I could call this Intro Take 1. I'm going to click right here and rename this track Intro Take 2. Now, one thing that you might find annoying when you click record,
so Sony got its start in 1946.
It's doing something called overdubbing or just dubbing, where it's going to be talking while you're talking. Now, there's two ways to deal with this. So I'm going to delete this track really quick. I'm going to recreate that track, rename it Intro Take 2. And I could do one of two things. I could click mute right here so when I record it doesn't dub over. Or I could go to Transport Options, underneath Transport, and deselect Overdub. Now if Overdub's off, even if this isn't muted, it should not play that track. So Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II, when Masaru Ibuka founded an electronics store in a bombed-out department store in Tokyo. So then, when I click play,
so Sony got its start.
It's going to actually play them both at the same time because overdubbing only happens when you're recording. So I can mute this track on top.
Sony got its start in 1940.
Click stop. And now I could unmute the first, mute the second. Click play.
So Sony got its start in
Let's say I don't like my first take because I said so Sony instead of just Sony. So I might want the second track. Now you could delete the whole entire first track, but just like if you're writing, you don't start a new paper necessarily. You could delete portions of it and insert parts that you like. So for example, on my second track, if I unmute it, click play.
Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II.
All right. So I know that, again, this is
Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II.
Great. I like that introduction, but I like, let's say, the rest of the first one. Now I could go back up to my top, click unmute.
So Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II.
And just like in a paper, let's say I don't like this sentence, I could hold on my mouse button and select, or click once with making sure that my select tool is selected. Hold shift, select back and delete. Come down here to my second track, select that part that I liked, edit copy, or you could cut, click back up here on your first track and edit paste. It's going to insert that entire first part, and I'm going to delete that small piece right there, and it will actually show you where you pasted that piece. So now I have that part of the intro that I like better in the second one, but let's say I like most of the first.
Sony got its start in 1946, just after World War II, when Masaru Ibuka found.
So that's just a quick overview of editing, inserting new tracks, and again, let's say if you want to go ahead and start recording, if you select here and hit record, it'll usually go to the end of the track that you're on, but you might not want that. You might want a new track. And again, the way to do that, let's just delete this chunk, go to the start, is to go to tracks, add a new mono or stereo track. And again, once you start getting a bunch of tracks, it's fine to have a ton, but make sure that if you click on this arrow to name them so you know exactly what it is. So I could call this track Intro Take 3 or intro etc. like stuff I want to maybe throw in an intro that I don't know of yet. So now when I click here, and again I'm making sure that underneath transport options I have overdub off because I don't want to hear my own voice while I'm talking again. So I'm going to click record again. I could go ahead and start recording parts that I want. Maybe I want to do the last sentence again. So I would say, among other achievements, they were responsible for building Japan's very first tape recorder. And again, just like before the intro, I could go ahead and chop out parts, put it back into the original track where I think it fits. So I'm going to play.
Sony got its start.
And let's see what's going on here. All right, on top, I don't have that muted, so let's mute, and then it's going to play the bottom one then. Click play.
I could go ahead and start recording parts that I want. Maybe I want to do the last sentence again. So I would say, among other achievements, they were
great. So let's say I like that, but I don't want all that talk, just like before. I want to locate where it starts, right around here.
Among other achievements.
Hold on my mouse and drag over, or click once again with my select tool and hold shift and then click over. So click once, my select is on, hold shift and click delete.
Among other achievements, they were responsible for.
And again, I could select this section, go to edit copy, and on my first track, I would want to find out where that starts, and I could paste it in there after deleting that other part. Now again, the main activity today, this was just some extra stuff in here in terms of integrating other parts and fixing your intro track, is just to remove the parts from the track that we don't want using the selection tool, and having just my voice, as sick as I sound right now, stating this first paragraph right here. So again, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. But if you're finished, just go ahead and export as an MP3, upload to the assignment page for credit. And again, I'm just looking to make sure that you can edit that chunk of audio to just have the paragraph on top, not my extra speech, not my extra talking or noises that don't belong.